Lucy stood outside the small, dimly lit room she called home, her hands trembling as she clutched her phone. She had been calling Gabriel for the past 2 hours, and each call went unanswered. Her heart pounded with fear, confusion, and desperation. This wasn't the Gabriel she knew, the man who once swore he loved her, the one who held her close and whispered sweet promises in her ear. She dialed his number again. "Hello?" His voice came through, low and irritated. "Gabriel?" She breathed out, relief washing over her. "I've been calling you. We need to talk. It's urgent." A deep sigh came from the other end of the line. "What is it, Lucy? I'm busy." She hesitated, suddenly afraid, but there was no point in hiding it. "I'm pregnant." Silence. "Gabriel, did you hear me?" she asked, her voice breaking. He chuckled bitterly. "Pregnant? You must be joking." "I'm not joking," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "I missed my period. I took a test, and I went to the hospital. It's confirmed. I'm having your child." Gabriel let out a harsh laugh. "You're having whose child?" "Yours, Gabriel. Who else?" His tone turned cold. "Lucy, don't be stupid. I can't be responsible for that pregnancy. I mean, you're not exactly a saint. How do I know you haven't been messing around with someone else?" The words hit her like a slap. She gasped. "How can you say that? You know you're the only one I've been with. Gabriel, please, don't do this to me." "I don't believe you," he snapped. "And even if you were telling the truth, I don't want it. I can't be a father now. I have plans for my life, and a baby isn't part of them." Lucy felt the ground beneath her shift. "But Gabriel, we've been together for 3 years. We've talked about the future. You said you loved me." "That was then," he said coldly. "I'm not ready for this, so do yourself a favor. Go and find the real father." Tears streamed down her face as she clutched the phone. "Gabriel, please, I need you. We can figure this out together. You can't just abandon me like this." He scoffed. "I can and I will. Goodbye, Lucy. Don't call me again." The line went dead. Lucy stood frozen, the phone slipping from her hand and crashing onto the hard concrete floor. The world around her blurred as sobs racked her body. This wasn't happening. This had to be a nightmare. Gabriel couldn't have just turned his back on her like that. Her hands instinctively went to her stomach. She was carrying a child. Their child. And now she was completely alone. Kicked out. Lucy walked into her home later that night, her legs weak and her heart heavy. She had hoped to find comfort in her parents, but deep down, she feared their reaction. Her family was poor, so poor that eating 3 square meals a day was a luxury. She was the eldest daughter, the one they had hoped would finish school, get a job, and lift them out of poverty. When her mother, Mama Nkechi, saw her tear-streaked face, she frowned. "Lucy, what is it? Why do you look like someone who has seen a ghost?" Lucy fell to her knees, sobbing. "Mama, Papa, I'm pregnant." Silence. Then her father, Baba Nkechi, let out a sharp breath. "What did you just say?" Lucy couldn't look up. "I'm pregnant, Papa." Her mother let out a cry, clutching her chest. "Chineke, Lucy, how could you do this to us?" Her father's voice was sharp, filled with disappointment. "Whose child is it?" "Gabriel's," she whispered. "And where is this Gabriel?" She swallowed hard. He denied it. Her mother's wail echoed through the small house. "God, why? Why would you disgrace us like this, Lucy? After all our struggles, you went and got yourself pregnant by a man who doesn't even want you?" Lucy sobbed harder. "Mama, I didn't plan for this. I swear, please don't throw me away." But her father's voice was like ice. "Leave this house." Lucy's head snapped up. "Papa, no." "Leave," he bellowed. "Since you've decided to disgrace this family, go to the father of your child. We are already suffering, Lucy. We can barely feed ourselves. Now you want to add another burden?" "Mama, please." Lucy crawled to her mother, grabbing her wrapper. "Don't let Papa do this. I have nowhere to go." Her mother's eyes were filled with sorrow, but her voice was firm. "We can't help you, Lucy. You have to go." Lucy stared at them in disbelief. The same parents who had raised her with love, who had always told her that family meant everything, were now throwing her out? With shaking hands, she stood up and wiped her tears. She knew there was no use begging anymore. "I understand," she whispered. Without another word, she turned and walked out into the cold night. She had no home, no money, no one to turn to, and for the first time in her life, she truly understood what it meant to be alone. The cold night air bit at Lucy's skin as she wandered aimlessly down the deserted road. Tears blurred her vision, but she kept walking, her arms wrapped around her trembling body. She had nowhere to go, no home, no food, no one to help her. Her stomach growled painfully, but she ignored it. The weight of her situation pressed down on her like an iron hand. She was 18, pregnant, and completely alone. She walked for what felt like hours, the streets growing darker, the silence heavier. At one point, she collapsed on the side of the road, curling into herself as she sobbed. "God, why?" she whispered into the darkness. "What did I do to deserve this?" Her only answer was the distant barking of a stray dog, a new reality. For the next few days, Lucy wandered the streets, begging for food, sleeping wherever she could find shelter. Some nights she found an old abandoned building to curl up in. Other nights, she slept on the hard pavement, her arms wrapped protectively around her growing stomach. People walked past her like she was invisible. Some threw her disgusted looks. Others pretended not to see her at all. One evening, as she sat by the roadside watching people hurry past her, a woman in a bright yellow dress stopped in front of her. "My dear, are you all right?" the woman asked, concern in her voice. Lucy hesitated, her throat dry. I'm just hungry," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The woman sighed and reached into her purse, pulling out a few naira notes. "Here, buy yourself something to eat." Lucy's hands shook as she accepted the money. "Thank you, Ma. God bless you." The woman gave her a sad smile before walking away. Lucy stared at the money in her hands. It wasn't much, but it was enough to buy a small meal. She stood up, heading to the nearest food stall, ignoring the judgmental looks the seller gave her as she bought a small plate of rice. She ate slowly, savoring every bite, knowing it might be her only meal for the day. As the days turned into weeks, Lucy's reality didn't change. She begged, she slept on the streets, and she endured the shame of being a homeless, pregnant girl. She was beginning to lose hope. An unexpected encounter. One afternoon, Lucy sat on a bench in front of an old shop, staring at her hands, when she heard a familiar voice. "Lucy?" She froze. Slowly, she looked up, her heart pounding. Standing before her was Abigail, her old classmate from secondary school. "Abigail?" Lucy whispered, barely believing her eyes. Abigail gasped, taking a step closer. "Lucy, is this really you? My God, what happened to you?" Lucy's eyes filled with tears. "It's a long story," she murmured. Abigail took one look at her, her dirty clothes, her tired eyes, her growing stomach, and immediately crouched down. "Come with me," she said firmly. Lucy hesitated. "I don't want to be a burden." "Burden? Are you serious? Lucy, you're my friend. I can't just leave you like this." Abigail helped her up and led her down the street. For the first time in months, Lucy felt a flicker of hope. Lucy followed Abigail in silence, her heart pounding with uncertainty. She had spent months on the streets, enduring hunger, shame, and hopelessness. Now, she was walking towards something unfamiliar. Hope. But could she trust it? Abigail led her into a gated compound, a modest yet well-kept bungalow sitting in the middle. As they entered the house, a woman in her mid-40s sat in the living room, reading a newspaper. She looked up, her eyes narrowing as she saw Lucy. "Mama, this is Lucy," Abigail said gently. "She was my classmate back in secondary school." Her mother's gaze moved over Lucy, her ragged clothes, sunken cheeks, and swollen stomach. "And what happened to her?" she asked, her voice firm but not unkind. Lucy swallowed hard, suddenly feeling like an intruder. Before she could speak, Abigail stepped in. "She fell on hard times, Mama. She has nowhere to go." Silence stretched between them before Abigail's mother sighed, setting her newspaper aside. "Are you pregnant?" she asked, looking at Lucy's stomach. Lucy nodded, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes, Ma?" Her expression softened slightly. "And the father?" Lucy hesitated, then lowered her head. "He denied it." Abigail's mother sighed again and shook her head. "Men," she muttered. Then, after a moment, she stood. "You must be hungry. Abigail, get her some food and run some water for her to bathe." Lucy's head snapped up in shock. "Ma, I don't want to be a burden." "Nonsense," the woman cut her off. "You are carrying a child. You need care. Eat first, then rest. We will talk later." Tears welled in Lucy's eyes. She had expected rejection. She had expected another door to slam in her face. But for the first time in months, someone was offering her kindness. She covered her face and sobbed. Abigail placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You're safe now, Lucy. You're not alone anymore." A safe haven. For the first time in what felt like forever, Lucy slept on a real bed. She ate until her stomach was full. She bathed and wore clean clothes Abigail had given her. Abigail's family welcomed her as one of their own. They didn't judge her, didn't make her feel like a mistake. Instead, they gave her warmth, something she had been deprived of for too long. As the months passed, Abigail's mother, who was a retired nurse, ensured Lucy attended her antenatal checkups. Abigail stood by her side, encouraging her every step of the way. Then, one fateful night, Lucy felt the first sharp pain in her belly. A miracle in threes, Lucy groaned, clutching her stomach as another wave of pain hit her. "Abigail!" she cried. Abigail rushed into the room, panic flashing in her eyes. "Mama, it's time!" Within minutes, they were in a hospital. Lucy's screams filled the air as labor dragged on for hours. She had never known such pain in her life, but she held on, remembering that she was fighting for the life inside her. "Push!" the doctor urged. With one final, agonizing cry, Lucy gave one last push. The loud, sharp cry of a baby filled the room. Lucy sobbed in relief, but before she could fully catch her breath, another contraction ripped through her body. "Wait, there's another baby!" the doctor exclaimed. Lucy's heart pounded as she pushed again. Another cry, and then another. "Triplets," the doctor announced. 2 boys and a girl. Lucy's entire world shifted. 3 babies, 3 little lives. As she held them in her arms, fresh tears rolled down her cheeks. She had been abandoned, left to suffer, but now she had a family, a new purpose. Abigail squeezed her hand. "You did it, Lucy. You're a mother now." Lucy looked down at her newborns, her heart swelling with love and determination. "I won't fail you," she whispered to them. "I promise." Lucy stared at the 3 tiny faces nestled against her chest, her heart swelling with overwhelming emotion. She had spent months suffering, begging on the streets, wondering if she would even survive. Now she held 3 miracles in her arms, her sons and daughter. Tears streamed down her face as she kissed each of their tiny foreheads. "You're mine," she whispered, her voice trembling, "and I will never abandon you." Abigail wiped her own eyes, smiling through her tears. "Lucy, you're amazing," she said, squeezing her hand. "Triplets, that's a blessing." Lucy nodded, but deep inside, fear lurked beneath her joy. How would she care for them? How would she provide? She had nothing. As if sensing her thoughts, Abigail's mother, who had been watching silently, stepped closer. "Lucy, don't worry," she said firmly. "You are not alone. You and these babies will stay with us. We will take care of you." Lucy broke into fresh sobs. She had expected rejection. She had expected to be told to find her way, as her own family had done, but instead, she was being embraced. "Thank you, Ma," she whispered. "I will never forget this kindness." Abigail smiled. "Now rest, new mama. You have 3 little ones depending on you." Raising triplets, the struggle begins. The first few months were exhausting. Lucy barely got any sleep, as one baby always seemed to be crying. Feeding them was a constant struggle, and there were times she thought she would break down from sheer exhaustion. One evening, as she rocked one of the boys to sleep, she sighed heavily. "Abigail, I don't know how I'll survive this," she confessed. Abigail laughed. "Welcome to motherhood." "I'm serious," Lucy groaned. "I'm so tired, and I have nothing. No job, no money. How will I take care of them?" Abigail's smile faded. "We'll figure it out. My family is here for you, Lucy." Lucy nodded, but deep inside, she knew she couldn't rely on Abigail's family forever. She needed to stand on her own. One night, as she nursed her daughter, she made a silent vow. "I will not let my children suffer as I did. No matter what, I will give them a good life." Lucy knew she needed a plan. "Abigail, do you think I can get a job?" she asked one morning, feeding the babies. Abigail hesitated. "It'll be hard with the babies so young, but let me ask around." Days passed, and Abigail finally returned with good news. "Lucy, I found something." Lucy's eyes widened. "A job?" "Yes," Abigail said excitedly. "It's in one of the biggest companies in Lagos. They need an assistant. It pays really well." Lucy's heart raced. "But what about the babies?" Abigail grinned. "That's the best part. I already spoke to my parents. We'll hire a nanny to take care of them while you work." Lucy's eyes filled with tears. "Abigail, how will I ever repay you?" Abigail smiled. "Just succeed, Lucy. That's all I want for you." Lucy hugged her tightly. For the first time in a long while, she saw a future, a real future, where she and her children wouldn't have to suffer. Little did she know the road ahead would be filled with more challenges and unexpected faces from her past.